It's come down to Drogba, who this time is the fifth penalty taker for Chelsea in the final shootout. He's done it! The greatest night in the history of Chelsea Football Club. It's finished at Sunderland. Manchester United have done all they can. That Rooney goal was enough for the 3 points. Manchester City are still alive here. Balotelli, Aguero!
What's going on? Welcome back. Another episode of Oil Money FC. I'm here with my co-host Breck. We're back again. Today's May 13th, 2021. And Manchester City are officially champions of England after Leicester City knocked off Manchester United, the other day. It was a good game actually, but yeah, I mean, they couldn't prolong the inevitable for any longer. Manchester United. It was kind of wrapped up for a while now, but official. 3 championships in 4 seasons now for Pep Guardiola. 3 and 5 in total in his stint in England, and 5 total for Manchester City now. It feels great, man. Feels great, but we did take that L to Chelsea last weekend. Yeah, we did tie Chelsea with titles now. We did. This is our first podcast episode with video, obviously. We're going to try that out. So, yeah, we appreciate everyone listening, of course, as always. And we're going to give you a little rundown of, a few other Premier League games, some League One in France, because Lille extended that lead over PSG, and some La Liga. And then we're also going to give each of our Premier League team of the seasons. We have 2 teams each. We have our first team and our second team. So we'll go through all that. We'll probably do the team of the seasons at the end. But yeah, so like I said, Manchester City champions. And now the race is really, and then also the bottom 3 are confirmed as well. So the 3 teams that are being relegated are out. You have Fulham, West Brom, and Sheffield United all going down. And so now it's just the race for top 4 is on. I mean, Chelsea beat Man City over the weekend, lost to Arsenal yesterday. And now with Liverpool currently winning against Manchester United right now.
It's 4-2. It's over.
Yeah, so that's over. So now you got a really tight race now for top 4. I mean, Chelsea could make it if they do drop out of top 4 by winning the Champions League final, but obviously you don't want to have to rely on that. You want to make it, just because they've been in the pole position to make it, so you don't want to throw it away. But that game Leicester against Manchester United was a good game. Soyuncu with the clincher. It actually, if the game would have stayed a tie, City still wouldn't have mathematically won it, but they would have had to lose every game, and then United would have to win every game, and then United would have to win on goal difference, which, I mean, so yeah, it was over once they let up that first goal in the beginning of the game. I was stoked. I mean, what's up?
It was over. I mean, United rotated like 9 different players. So once that lineup came out, you're like, okay, they're kind of phoning it in here. Like,
yeah, I think that was kind of a slap in the face to Liverpool. Like, hey, we're gonna give Leicester an easier game here to try and keep Liverpool out of top 4. Not that they want to lose ever, but with the Europa League final coming up that they're in, and Ole knowing that the league was just already gone, pretty much, it wasn't worth it. So it's understandable. But yeah, no, they did put out a weak team, and Leicester got it done. I mean, hey, Leicester obviously great team as well. So yeah, we also have the FA Cup final coming up, Chelsea and Leicester. It's gonna be spicy. How do you feel about that one?
I'm confident. I'm a little worried. I think Jamie Vardy's been really bad, actually, the second half of the season. Started off with like 10 goals in the first 2 months of the season, and then scored 2 the rest of the way. So I'm a little worried. He's a big game player. I'm a little worried he's going to turn up that day. But if we start our strongest 11, we should be able to beat Leicester. But it's a final. Anything can happen. So I'm pretty confident, but still a little nervous.
Yeah, no doubt. And, Leicester, that's all they have to play for now. They have top 4, obviously, but they don't have that Champions League final looming like y'all do. So, I mean, It'll be interesting to see the team that Tuchel puts out. Obviously, it'll be a strong team, but will it mirror what he puts out in the Champions League final? You never know. So yeah, that'll be interesting. And then yeah, you got like I said, West Brom, Fulham, and Sheffield going down. The Premier League, I think who's coming up? We got Norwich, Watford, and
Still happening.
And then the other, yeah, that they have the playoff with it's like 4 teams, right, for that last playoff spot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wembley. And I think the favorite might be Brentford, if I'm not mistaken.
That would be crazy. Have they ever even been in the Premier League? I don't think so.
I don't know.
But yeah, no, so that'll be interesting to see as well. And then Serie A top 4 race heating up because Roma lost today. Or no, not Roma. I mean, yeah, Roma did lose today, but they're not fighting for it. Juventus won yesterday.
3-1.
Ronaldo had actually a goal, sauced up that one defender, kind of turned back the clock a little bit. Looked pretty good. But Juventus are just kind of in a transitional phase. If they don't make the Champions League, it's going to be bad for them. I saw a video of Buffon out on the streets pleading with fans to back Pirlo because they want him to succeed in the video, you could tell, but they don't feel like the players are have his back. So I mean, yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see if they can get it done and make that top 4 spot, because if they don't, it's gonna be bad. I'm not really sure what's gonna happen.
I think Ronaldo leaves if they don't make top 4.
I agree, and I think you could see Delight, whatever his name is, you could see him leave.
You could see him leave, but he's like their foundational center back piece for the next 10 years, hopefully. So they're not going to let him go for cheap. So
yeah, someone would have to dump out a bag.
The only thing about Juventus that's a little worrying is everybody around them won. Is winning too. Atalanta won, AC Milan won 7-0. I was like,
yeah, against Torino too, right?
Yeah. And then Napoli won. So Juventus has got to win out basically to make top 4.
Yeah. So I don't know. It'll be interesting, and yeah, like I said, you could see some players jumping ship. Dybala. I mean, Dybala was at one point such a promising young talent. He's 27 now.
Yeah.
Still a great player, obviously, but I mean, it'll be interesting to see what he does with his career.
He should be a little better at this point.
I agree. He should be hitting his prime
peak.
Like
a top 10, 15 player in the world, and he's not there.
Yeah,
remember
I
he
agree.
scored against Barca in the Champions League semi, I think, where he just turned and hit with his left foot, and you're like, damn, that is a star player in the making. And then it's been 3 years since then, and every year has been not as good. So I do wonder too, he looked so good under Sarri, and then they fired him. So, and then Pirlo didn't want to play him. He didn't play half the. I know he was hurt earlier too, but he's an interesting player to look at.
Yeah, no doubt. It'll be interesting to see what he does if they don't make the Champions League too. But yeah, that's heating up. And then PSG just tied Rennes.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know how that happens. We kind of hyped up PSG on last week's episode about how now that they're out of the Champions League, we could see them really pushing Lille for the league. But Lille won again and PSG didn't. So now they're 3 points back. I would have to look at the table. I'm not sure about the goal differences. If
PSG's way more.
PSG's way more, right? So if Lille so that's not the worst loss for PSG
Lille have Saint Etienne and Angers, or however you pronounce that, and then PSG have Rennes at Brest, and then they have the French Cup final. So they have 3 games too, and the French Cup final is in between their last game. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. I think PSG really if they win no trophies. I mean, they have that French Cup final. I guess they'll win that, right? Yeah, they'll win that. If they don't win the league, though, failure. And even winning the league, I mean, it's Champions League or bust. We talked about this last week, so yeah, no, it'll be a good rundown for the rest of the season. Hopefully Lille get it done. Tim Weah, the boy, again. Hopefully. And then La Liga, you had Real Madrid last weekend pulling out a stoppage time draw with Eden Hazard equalizing in like the 92nd minute. You had Barcelona drawing 3-3 as well against Levante, and then Atletico won. So Atletico are looking good now. They're in pole position. They control the destiny.
Real Madrid's up 2-0 right now in Granada in the 50-something minute. So if
Okay.
Real could win this game, they'll be 2 points behind Atletico. So
Same games played.
same games played. The only thing is, I think Barca with that draw, they're done, in my opinion. Like, I think that was their last chance. I mean, if Atletico win out, they obviously win, but Real Madrid's like the only one to me that's going to challenge them the rest of the season.
Yeah. I think Atletico are gonna win. Honestly, I think Simeone is like just fired up, determined. It's funny too because back in like January or February, I put in a prop bet that Atletico would win the Champions League at like plus 600 or something, or no, like plus like 1300. Didn't hit. Should have put that in for La Liga because man, I didn't see that coming though. But yeah, those results over the weekend actually confirmed Sevilla has no chance of winning either. Yeah. Obviously, they weren't gonna do anything, but yeah, no, it's that's the league this year for sure.
Definitely. Dortmund just won the Pokal too. We got to mention.
Huge.
They're actually now in fourth, so they're now on a Champions League spot. They've been playing much better as of late.
Good.
And they got a trophy. So you maybe think Haaland and Sancho might stay another year.
Too many good players on that team to not be in the Champions League.
Yeah.
Even forget Haaland and Sancho. You got fucking Bellingham. You got Gio Reyna. You got so many good players out there. So Royce, even obviously the older guys, Hummels. But yeah, no, the Pokal is good for them because, I mean, they are a stacked team with those young talents. They need to win stuff.
Yeah, they could just get some defenders. Like, they could challenge for the Bundesliga.
Yeah. Haaland, one of the goals he scored today in the final, I was watching it earlier. He took Upamecano, the center back for Leipzig. Very good player. Just sunned him, fathered him, just put him on the floor and just curled one into the corner. It was, God, it's like he was just born to just score goals. It's disgusting, honestly. But yeah, so you want to get into our teams of the season for the Premier League?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
All right. So we're gonna, like I said, we'll do a first team and a second team. So we'll do a starting 11 and then like a backup 11. We'll start with I guess we'll go back to front, right? We'll go goalie to striker. Okay, so for me, I know we have the same starting goalie, Emi Martinez from Aston Villa. Literally the only reason that they are not bottom table team, maybe possibly relegation. Him and Jack Grealish. I mean, they went from letting in, I think it was 65 something like that goals last year, and to like 30 something and 14 clean sheets, something like that. So, I mean, he's had a great season. I remember when he left Arsenal and he said that Aston Villa was like a step up in his career from Arsenal. Total shade. Gotta love it. Just absolute scenes out here. He
was great for Arsenal too. He, like, in the FA Cup final, he made great saves last year, and he just needed a move where he could get regular time.
Because Bernd Leno's a great goalie, and he had that gruesome injury last year, so he was out for an extended period of time.
So, I mean, a great career move, and it's paying dividends because, you know, if Villa can just get some signings in the summer, they could be a Premier League mainstay for the next, 5 years.
Yeah, no doubt. And then at center back, I have Ruben Diaz, obviously. I mean,
Ruben Diaz is one of my center backs as well.
I mean, what can you say? I think he should honestly win PFA Player of the Year. Honestly,
you can argue it. It's hard to. It seems like Kane is the favorite right now, but I mean, we've waxed poetic about this guy like the last 2 episodes, so there's nothing really more else to say. He's John Terry light right now, is what he is.
Yeah. And he's so young, 23 years old. Just the command he has over that team and just the passion and everything, like we were talked about in the last week's episode, throwing his body in front of balls. I mean, taking shots off his head. I mean, that was in the Champions League, but yeah, no, like, I mean, man is unbelievable. And thank God he worked out for us, because would have been a bad year for us in the Premier League, and we ended up winning the damn thing without him. So I had him, and then I had John Stones as well, just because I mean, the transformation of him, getting back to where everyone thought he could be and where he needed to be with his talent. And I think it's largely in part to Ruben Diaz, but he just had an unbelievably scored goals too. Just looked super comfortable on the ball. He had his confidence back, so that was great to see. And yeah, I had him and Ruben Diaz at center back.
I had the same. I had Stones, like you said. He is finally the player that everybody, when he left Everton, everybody's like, this is the next great center back in England. He's finally that player.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see at the Euros this summer if he can do it without Diaz next to him, because he'll have the fridge square head Minecraft block man Harry Maguire next to him. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I think he'll get it done.
I do
even without Pep and Diaz, but he's just got to stay confident. He can let a little mistake get into his head sometimes. So yeah. And then at left back, I had Luke Shaw. Another unbelievable, just like transformation. Never got playing time under Mourinho. Was overweight. Was out of shape. Was not another player with huge ceiling, a lot of potential. Was a great player. That's one thing I've got to give credit to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for, is that Luke Shaw has become a premier left back, one of the best in the world, in my opinion, this year underneath him. So I had to put him in there.
I also have Shaw, like you said. There was always the thing about his fitness, him not working hard on the pitch in training, and whatever like you said, whatever Ole said to him this year, like really kicked in for him, because I think you could argue right now he's probably the best left back in the world. If you look at the statistics, we don't really go into statistics too much, but I mean he's pretty much first or second in like every defensive and offensive category for left backs in the whole world. So unbelievable season. Him and Wan-Bissaka just really like solidifying the fullbacks for United, which have been a problem for them in the previous years.
Yes, yeah, and yeah, I mean he was a key part of them being in second place and kind of challenging for the title. So I had him in there, and then right back, I think this is where we might start to differ and venture off from each other a little bit. I had João Cancelo.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little hard. I saw Jamie Carragher had Kyle Walker, but I just think he didn't play enough. Cancelo is more of a integral part of the team beginning mid-season. And just his he's really like a midfielder, really, and just his passing and his vision on the field, and then just his playmaking ability. I had to put him in there.
This is not where we differ. I also
Okay.
have João Cancelo.
Okay.
He kind of plays he's like that Dani Alves role for Barcelona, where he's the starting right back, but he's like kind of
He's everywhere.
Like that's where Dani Alves was always like making crosses in the box and stuff, and Cancelo's kind of filled that role. So for me, when I think of the City run this season, mid-season, where they won, what was it, like 20 games in a row, 21 games in a row, Cancelo started all those games and was phenomenal in basically all those games. So for me, he's got to be the starting right back in team of the season.
Yeah, no doubt. And then moving on to midfield, I had I guess I didn't really have them based on position. I just had three midfielders. I'll start. I had Bruno Fernandez in there. Obviously, I mean he just actually broke Lampard's record today for most goals in all competitions for a midfielder in a season. Although, albeit 10 of them being penalties, not to take away from him. I hate Manchester United, and I always bitch and moan about Bruno Fernandez to you all the time, but I take nothing away from him. He's an exceptional player. Portugal are going to be scary at the Euros this year, man.
Oh yeah.
And his playmaking ability, and just he really became a leader for that United team. Kind of like their Ruben Diaz signing, honestly, last January of 2020. So
you want to do your other two, and then I'll give my three.
Yeah. So De Bruyne, I don't even know if I really have to get into that. Best midfielder in the world. In the world. Top 5 player in the world.
I would argue that
there's an argument for that one, but
I would argue that, but Premier League, best midfielder in Premier League, best midfielder.
Best player in the Premier League too. Best player in the Premier League, in my opinion, at least. But yeah, no, I mean, you don't really have to say much about him. Missed some games because of injury, but when he's in there, I mean, some of those passes you watch him make, you just like, how does he even? It's almost like a video game for him. And then I had Gundogan in there just because when De Bruyne was out, which was a huge part of that winning streak. I mean, Gundogan, he ended up being our leading scorer in the Premier League, Mr. Whippy. Mr. Whippy, when he was in there, he just showed, offensive prowess and ability to not only finish but make key passes and then also get back on defense a little bit, make some, defensive plays. So I had to put him in there. And yeah, that's my 3 midfielders.
My formation's a little bit different than yours. We have 2 similar. I have Ilkay, like you said. I think he had a run there where he scored like 10 goals in 8 games or something, or 8 goals in 6 games. It was like where he scored the 2 against Chelsea or 2 against Liverpool. He was scoring against the top teams at will at that point. It was a little scary.
2 against Tottenham, I believe, too.
Yeah, it was crazy. So for me, it's him. And I mean, a lot of people recently have been like, "Oh, the goals have dried up." But if you still watch the games, he's very influential.
Well, De Bruyne came back from injury, like I said.
Yeah.
Excuse me. A lot of that when he was playing well was when De Bruyne was out. Not that like you said, not that he stopped playing well. It's just everybody cares about stats and goals and stuff, and it's like that doesn't tell the whole story. Watch the game, watch what he does, watch his movements. Yeah.
My other midfield, I have Kevin De Bruyne, like you said, best midfielder in the world. What else can we say about him? And I do have Bruno in my team, but I do not have him in the midfield. I have a CDM, and I was going between Rodri and Conte. And I just think without N'Golo, I think you could take Rodri out of the team and they'd be fine. I think you could place him with, Fernandinho this year and he would have been okay. So I do have N'Golo Conte as my 3rd midfielder. Not his best year, by the years he's had. Like his Leicester year is like magical how well he did that season. But I think if you take him away from the Chelsea team, we would be like 10 points, below where we are. And I just think his work rate, I mean, he just makes the midfield go for us this season.
No, I agree.
It might not be, you might not agree with the selection, but I just think when you in terms of midfielders, who is the better defensive midfielder in the Premier League with Conte? To me, there's no way.
No, I think that's fair.
And you got to give Rodri a shout. He was my other guy that I was thinking about for CDM.
He's not as good as Conte defensively, but he's a little bit better offensively. But if you're going to go CDM, then that's fair. I see that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, then up top, Harry Kane. I mean, the man, double-digit assists and goals, at most goals.
Spurs. He's got to get out, man.
I know.
It's like get out. He's got to get out.
Yeah, if Diaz isn't player this season, then it's got to be Kane. And I think it'll probably go to Kane just because he's an offensive player, just like kind of like the NFL MVP or like, American sports do that, where it's like, if it's between like an offensive player, defensive player, like the Heisman, it's always going to go to the offensive player or quarterback or something. So, but yeah, no, Kane, unbelievable season. And then I had Heung-Min Son in there too, because he also had an insane season, and him and Kane as a duo, I mean, they feed off each other. It's just ridiculous what they can do together. And then I had my boy Phil Foden up there as well. I mean, not like statistically like the best season compared to maybe like Marcus Rashford or something, but I mean, you just watch him. He's always trying to take people on. Like that Liverpool game in Anfield was just, I mean, he looked like a 30-year-old in his prime. He's 20 years old and he's bossing Anfield. I mean, that's just one example. The kid, and he scored crucial goals. I remember we beat Brighton 1-0 early in the season. Huge win. He scored the only goal right before halftime. I mean, like, he's had huge games, huge goals. So I think he's got to be in there, Phil Foden. And the world's got to watch out for my boy because he's coming.
He is. Up top, I have Kane, like you said. A lot of his success needs to be contributed to Mourinho, too. Like, he kind of transformed Kane into playing a little more deep, like intercepting passes in the midfield, and that's why his assist numbers are up like crazy this year. Mourinho had him, set up. On the left wing, I have Bruno Fernandez as a winger. I know that's not his position, but if you watch games, I mean, he's not like you can call him a midfielder, but he plays in the center, he plays on the left, he plays on the right. So it's more like a free roam attacker. They put that like for they have like Jack Grealish as a winger. So if Jack Grealish is classified as a winger, Bruno's a winger. And then right wing, this is where you're gonna hate me, Devin. I did not select Phil Foden. I selected Mohamed Salah. I think without Salah's goals and assists this year, you could seriously have the conversation of Liverpool finishing like below Arsenal. I mean, I think he's got like 19 goals, 10 assists. If you take those away, where's the production coming from? Like, they had a horrendous season by their standards. Worst champions of all time, by the
way. Yeah.
But like Salah has been great. And the games they even lose, where like they lose 2-1, he's the goal, So for me, it's got to be Salah on the wing. And don't get me wrong, I didn't put Foden in, but Foden will be in the next, 8 straight team of the years probably. So
yeah, no, the thing with Salah too is like people were saying, oh, Liverpool, like they don't have Van Dijk, like blah blah blah. That's why they're struggling. It's like, okay, but you still had Firmino, you still had Mane, you still had Salah, and Mane and Firmino did nothing. I mean, Mane himself said the other day, this is the worst season I've ever had. He's like, I went to my dietitian and was like, am I eating the right things? And they said, yeah, like so he's even acknowledging it. And Firmino, God, terrible season. Awful. Just ghosted this year. And so, yeah, Salah's really been holding them down. So that's fair. I agree without Salah, Liverpool. My gosh.
I want to put Foden in, but to me, he's been like, when I think about, this is like his breakout year, obviously. When I think back in years, when we think back of this year, I'll think about the Champions League goals more than his Premier League goals, I'll think about
That's fair.
Performances against PSG. I'll think about the performance against Dortmund before I think of anything he did in the Premier League this season, Because there was just so many other standouts in your guys' team this year that overshadow Foden in the Premier League for me.
Fair enough. That's understandable. But yeah, no. So you wanna get into second team?
Yep, let's go.
For my second team, my goalie was Edouard Mendy from Chelsea. Obviously, I mean, it was looking bleak with Kepa in there, man. It was looking bad. So I mean, you had to get a good goalie in there, and he came in had like 6 clean sheets to start off or something like that. I mean, really transformed that back line for Chelsea. So I had to put him in there. I think you maybe could have made a shout for Ederson because he actually is leading clean sheets, but that's also due in part to obviously to Diaz and Stones being great.
He hasn't faced a lot of shots this year because of
True. I mean, but he also brings in that passing aspect that nobody is he's the best passing goalie probably like ever, literally. But I had to, yeah, Neuer's good too. But no, I had to give it to Mendy. He was tremendous. So
yeah, when I was going through this, I had Ederson, Mendy, Nick Pope has had another great season. I wonder if he's going to be the England number 1, just based off his form. And Kasper Schmeichel had another good season.
Yeah, better not be Pickford.
Yeah, Kasper Schmeichel had a good season, but like you, I went with Mendy. I mean, he kind of changed Chelsea's defense when he came in. I mean, Kepa started the season the first maybe 6 games, and we were still having the same defensive problems. He still made mistakes. And then Mendy came in, like you said, the 6 straight clean sheets. I think he's got like 14 on the season. And I think his introduction really changed the defense because being a French, he speaks French. He played in the French league. I think like 4 of our starting defenders, consistently starting defenders, speak French. So like the communication between the team is really like helped the defense this year, in my opinion. So Mendy's my second choice.
Yeah. And then at center back, I had our second teams are going to be so different. I love this. At center back, I had Thiago Silva. I think probably could have given it to Harry Maguire. I just have such a bias that I just couldn't do it because dude's just a fucking bum. But he did have a good season. But Thiago Silva, I mean, I just think him and Mendy, you look where Chelsea were at, like I said, and where they're at now.
His leadership is huge.
Yeah, I think that's a huge aspect that plays into it. So I had to give it to him. And then I also went with Wesley Fofana from Leicester because, I mean, with the season they had and some of the teams they've beaten, some of the games they've had, and I think he's looked great. He's played alongside Johnny Evans and Soyuncu, so he's had some good center backs with him, but I had to give it to him. He's looked good this season. He's only had one yellow card, bunch of clean sheets. He starts. I think I just saw like 80% of the games for Leicester, so in the Premier League. So I had to give it to Fofana.
I also have Fofana as one of my center backs. Like, I'm just going to echo everything you said. Also, his age. I mean,
he's 20.
20 is just going to get better. I think, I don't know how you feel. I think a big team comes calling in 3-4 year time.
Could be even less. Could be like 1 or 2, honestly.
In a couple of years, some big team's going to come with a $60 million, price tag saying how much for Fofana. But my other one is Maguire, and you don't like him. I don't like him. But if you look at the stats, he is like first and second in all defensive metrics. He is the leading center back on a second place team, so he's my second choice center back.
No, that's fair. Then at right back, I had Soufal from West Ham. Soufal. I think it's Soufal, right?
Yeah, I also have Soufal.
I think what's his name? Vladimir Soufal. Yeah. I mean, I think you just have to. He's had a great season, and I think it's just because of where West Ham are, like compared to like where they were, like where they should be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the league table, I think he's had a huge impact on that team. Defensively, they've been a lot better. David Moyes has really transformed them. I mean, you look at a year ago, like we said, I think we said this last week on the podcast, they were battling relegation, struggling.
Yeah.
And now it doesn't look like they're going to get top 4, but it was there. It had a chance.
I mean, they should be in the Europa League with the stadium they built, the money they've invested. They should be a Europa League club, and that's where they are. And hopefully they can just they could stay in that Europa League spot for 5 years, because that's where that size of a club should be. Club with that, I still think it's tragic that they tore down the bowling grounds. That was a great stadium, but
Bubbles.
The bubbles. I also have Kufal, and I mean, I think he signed from Slavia Prague for like a very cheap fee. So this is like unbelievable business by West Ham.
Yeah, no doubt. And then left back, I have Lucas Digne, Everton. I think he's been very consistent. He's missed a little bit, but he's been very consistent. He's probably started off a little bit better than he has been playing lately, but yeah, I just think the way Everton started and just his passing ability, and along with his defense, but more his passing, his offensive prowess going forward is just unbelievable. And he's been a standout player for them this year. So I had to put him in the left back.
Yeah, it was between him and Cresswell for me, and I went with Cresswell. It just felt wrong not to go with another West Ham player. Defensively, he's improved. He's still really young. I mean, a few goals and 7 assists in the league. He's really starting to find his offensive groove as a player. So I went with Cresswell, and he was touted to be a really, good prospect 2 or 3 years ago, and he's kind of living up to the potential now.
Yeah, no doubt. And then, all right, getting in the midfield, I had Mason Mount. He's really come into his himself this year, fulfilling his potential. Another young English player who high expectations. There were questions. We mentioned this last week when Lampard leaves. Is he going to be able to continue his form with Tuchel coming in? Because Lampard had huge trust in him, played him a lot. A lot of people thought he was going to fall off. Nope. leading Chelsea to potential top 4 finish in a Champions League final appearance. I mean, you can't say enough about him scoring goals, assists, just kind of boss in the midfield for such a young player. Had to put him in there. And then, I'll go through my midfield. Yeah. I also had James Maddison from Leicester. Same kind of thing, goals, assists, leadership, everything you want to see from a midfielder. I think that's the hardest position on the pitch, especially in the center. So to see James Maddison scoring goals, assists, bossing the midfield for a team that's top 4, you got to give him a lot of credit. And then my last midfielder is Thomas Souček from West Ham. Scored a bunch of goals this year. Huge part. Clutch goals too. Late goals. Game winners. Just a huge part of why they are where they are. And so I had to throw him in there just because, like I said, I mean, without him, they're probably 8th, 9th, 10th place. Honestly, he had a lot of clutch goals back, especially back in the early stages of the season.
All right, I'm gonna go through mine now. I got Mount, like you said. He's just gotten better, and a lot of people don't. A lot of people look at stats, which we talked about. His stats have improved, but a lot of things you don't realize through stats when you watch the game is how well Mount does tracking back. His defensive duties, like he intercepts a ton of passes with his pressing. So Mount's one for me. I have Souček as the other. Like you said, he's kind of frozen Mark Noble out of the team. That was the Mark Noble role for so long in that team, and he's just kind of replaced him. And I mean you before the season you might have thought that would have been Declan Rice, but injury hit him hard this season, so it's got to be Souček. And unlike Bruno Fernandez, I put Grealish at cam and missed 2 months of the season. I understand.
That's the reason I couldn't put him in there, is just because of the injury.
Yeah, I can see. That's very fair. But before the injury, was there a better player in the league for the first 3 months of the season? I don't know. Like when Aston Villa were flying high in the early season, he was unbelievable. So Grealish is my third midfielder.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, like I said, I wanted to put, if Grealish played the whole season, I think he has a potential first team shout, honestly. Yeah. But the injury just kind of like held him back for me. And I just think there are so many other influential players that brought teams from potential lower positions up to like higher positions that had to put them in there. But yeah, so finally, my 3 forwards, I had Riyad Mahrez. After hearing Salah, I didn't really consider him, but maybe could have had a shout over Mahrez. Mahrez didn't make the most Premier League appearances just because of how deep the squad is at City. But I just think Riyad Mahrez has really, really turned it on this year and has just, got himself back to those Leicester days where he was just, taking over games, getting that ball out on the right wing, giving left backs nightmares, and just running at people, assists, goals. I think he's got like 9 goals, 5 assists in the Premier League this season. So I just think I had to put him in there for that. And then I had Marcus Rashford as well. A huge part of why United are second. But the thing for me about Rashford is I honestly kind of expect more from him even. I think Rashford can become an even better player. I think he could take another step and become even more ruthless and lethal in his finishing. He's still young, he's still got time to do that, but he had a great season. I think he could be even better next year. I really do. I think Rashford's a great player. And then finally, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Just that run of games, that run of form early in the season, just unbelievable. Got hurt, missed some time as well. But I think just with that run of form early in the season, scoring goals, was the leading Premier League scorer for a while. I just had to put him in there.
All right, I'm gonna go left wing. I went with Son. Like you said, you had him as your first choice. I had him as my second choice. His best statistical season, him and Kane were a great partnership this season. I wanted to put Rashford, like you said, but looking at a lot of his, stats this year, a lot of his goals and assists came outside of the Premier League. So, like you said, next year, I do agree. I think, he's still, 22, 23? So he's just going to get better. He'll definitely be in team of the seasons going forward if he can get more clinical. On the right wing, I have Foden. This is where I put Foden in. Like I said just before, I think Foden outside of the Premier League has performed, immensely. So not that he shouldn't make the team of the season, but I have him as my second choice. Got to give a shout to Diego Jota too. He was the other guy I was kind of like, I don't know, but then the injury. If he doesn't have the injury, he might be in maybe even the team of the season because the way he was scoring before he got injured, he was kind of carrying Liverpool. But Foden, for everything you said before, great player, going to be a great player, Ballon d'Or potential player. And then my striker, I agree with you, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, great under Ancelotti, that run of form. And I think he's got 16 goals this year, which is 5th best in the Premier League. Another guy that's like 22, 23. So if you're an Everton fan, you got to love that that's your striker for the next 5 to 10 years, hopefully. So, I think we're done here, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's it. I think there's obviously shouts for so many players. It's so hard at some of these positions, but
I wrote some down that you could have had in your second teams. I know a lot of people did. I just wanted to go like what you think of their season. You just want to go through them?
Sure, yeah.
I thought Patrick Bamford had a really good season.
I considered him. Yep.
For Leeds. Really helped them stay up. Ollie Watkins for Villa, 13 goals on the season. A lot of big goals against, Arsenal, Leicester. Like, he had a really good season. And then some of the guys in lower table clubs that without their goals, they might go down or they might be in relegation battle. I thought Ings had another great season, even though he's injured at points. Callum Wilson kind of just single-handedly kept Newcastle up.
Yeah.
Chris Wood for Burnley, 12 goals. Another player that kind of his goals kept Burnley up. And then Wilfred Zaha with 10 goals. But just if Palace doesn't have Zaha, they're kind of a horrendous team. So
that's the thing. They already are a horrendous team.
Yeah.
He keeps them from being literally relegated, I think, honestly.
Yeah, so those are just some players I think we had to mention just because they had great seasons.
No, I agree. Bamford definitely was on my radar. I was thinking about him over Calvert-Lewin.
Oh, we cannot forget Kelechi Iheanacho. He's really stepped up.
Yeah, I was thinking of him too. It's just he kind of came on a little too late, but not to take away from his season. Unreal. He's been playing so well lately. I see a lot of City fans saying we should buy him back, but the buyback clause already expired, so that's over. But yeah, no, he's had a great season. But yeah, I think that's it for us here. Like we said, we're gonna have that live stream for the Champions League final. That should be spicy. We appreciate everybody listening. As always, I'm gonna get this episode on Spotify, 100%. I'm gonna do that. So, either tonight or tomorrow morning, I'll have that up, and then we'll have the video on YouTube. Everybody subscribe to the pod. Let your friends who love the sport know if they want to listen. Hey, we out here. We'll be back again next week. But yeah, no, we got a couple weeks to that Champions League final, baby. Count it down. But we appreciate everybody watching, listening, and we'll catch you next week.
Peace out.
If I bang man's face, man bopped in lean. Kun Aguero, man dropped the shoulder, feint once, quick kick, then I drop man's G. First time I link her, Nando sweet. 9.95, I swipe then eat. A 1-2 rap, she don't give hat. Thiago Silva, man blocked then ski. Had man screaming, look there's